And designers are exploring new ways of defining products to address environmental and social concerns. And there are a number of groups around the world which are, and small design outfits, which are really kind of challenging our notions of product design. The Droog group in Holland is one of the most well-known, with Rennie Ramekes and Gies Becker, who've brought together the work of many designers in Holland and further afield that really challenge what our expectations of products are, how they're made, their aesthetics, how we relate to products, how we get involved in products, how we make our own products, how we interact with products, how we value products. All sorts of different agendas are being addressed. The Boymes in New York, husband and wife team, have produced all kinds of innovative work which make you look twice about, is that good design, is that bad design, what does that mean for the future of design? There's many designers working in these areas. They're not particularly commercial design. What they're really doing is looking at design in a more conceptual framework, really challenging our expectations of what good design is and how it could be. So there's many positive aspects of the current design areas which are building towards looking at more innovative ways of doing things that address sustainable concerns. But the links that must be formed between localization, and I'll get onto that one, between local scale initiatives and mass production to further environmental responsibilities and social equity and self-reliance have received relatively little attention. We're still generally thinking about product design and mass production, and yet much of the literature in sustainability is about localization, but there's been relatively little attention given to that in material product design, and the rates of energy use, production, consumption and waste production in the Western nations continues apace. And there are more and more signs, as we all know, only too well, of climate change. For example, just a week or two ago, it was announced that the Northwest Passage is now open for business. That passage across the top of Canada, which joins the Atlantic and the Pacific, throughout history, it's been iced up and not navigable. But now it's completely navigable and free of ice in places. You can actually get a ship through there for the first time due to climate change and the melting of the ice cap. And in the report I heard, which was on the World Service of the BBC, it was reported in a rather surprising way, because one would expect to hear that people were responding with major concern that we've got to do something and this is disastrous. But actually the response was, well, this is going to open up new development opportunities, land development in the north, and new commercial opportunities. And so, you know, we still maintain these, I would say, rather short-sighted perspectives without realizing that the place is falling apart around our ears. So the vision of a sustainable society, especially when the population of the world is now well exceeding 6 billion, is, it seems, much more an ideal than actually a feasible practical possibility. So in this sense, and in a variety of other ways that I've referred to in this talk, it bears sustainability, bears all the hallmarks of a mythic story, a story that tries to come to terms with and provide resolution to something that is actually beyond our grasp. Now, Steiner has explained the criteria for attributing to a body of thought the status of mythology. It must provide, there are three major things. It must provide an idea of completeness, a total picture of humanity in the world. It must have a recognizable beginning and development, and include key founders and texts and so on. And it will develop its own stories, language and scenarios. And I think, I hope that in what I've just said, in sustainable development, you'll see that we have clear evidence of all three criteria being satisfied. It contains many of the essential elements that are present in the traditional myths and religions, but represented in a contemporary and highly secularized form. Like previous myths, sustainability is about the moral and spiritual underpinnings of being a human being. The three key elements, environment, ethics, and economics, cover our physical environment, our moral sense, and our social well-being.